Hey, Yaru, thanks for joining today. And finally, for the first time on Sips and Software, I'm actually having a coffee. So shout out to Coffee Rush in Oregon City. I'm out here visiting our in-laws. So Yaru, you are a true champion for time management. So that's why I want to focus on the community. So I want to give you a platform to talk about this today. But before I get into too much and why I asked to meet with you, I heard a crazy story. You broke the sound barrier to have your first date with your wife. Can you allude on that and then jump into your intro?
Yes, that's Colin, thank you for having me. It is a true privilege and honor to be able to talk to someone I consider a friend, a dear friend. But yes, to that story. Back in my earlier days, wayward youth, I was a Navy fighter pilot. I flew F-18s for the U.S. Navy out of Japan, our carrier air wing based out of there. And when I was dating my wife, she's Japanese, and it wasn't our first date, but it was one of the earlier stages. But I credit this moment for helping her decide that, okay, you're going to be the man I marry. I was at an air show in northern Japan up near Hokkaido, base called Masala, it's just south of Hokkaido. And we were based in Atsugi, which is just outside of Tokyo. So if you think of California, it's like flying from Reading or one of the cities up north down to LA. And so last day of the air show, I was on a Sunday taking off. I had a date scheduled with her later in the evening. We're late getting out of the air show, just typical things. And so I climb up to altitude, my trusty steed, to high 30s, thousands in the out in the altitude, and the speed of sound is based off of temperature. So the colder it is, the lower the indicated airspeed needs to be to actually exceed Mach 1. It's actually Mach 1.04 to actually be above the speed of sound. And so I climbed up, put the throttles to mill, trying to make up some time, and I got distracted by something. I look up back into my HUD, heads up display, gets all my flight instrumentation there, and I saw like it was like 1.06.
Oh my
Breaking the
gosh.
sound barrier over populated areas is really frowned upon. So I immediately pull the throttles back, right, and I come down, start my descent into Itsugi, come into the break, which is a standard way that we recover in a timely manner. Land, put the jet to bed, and as I'm signing, fill out the paperwork from the aircraft, I already made my mind. I learned this in flight school. You never lie. So if someone asks you a question, you never volunteer information you don't need to tell. But if someone asks you, you fess up, right? So I already
Yeah,
made a mind.
unbelievable.
So yeah, if someone asks me about it, I'm going to fess up. Well, no one asked me about it, so
Yeah,
put
because
the
it's
jet to
one way to
bed.
live, right?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of ties into something I wanted to hone in on. So clearly, you know how to manage time, and you showed
Yeah.
your wife you're as good as your word. So you showed up, and something that you do consistently is show up. So you're a proud dad of three, a great husband, but you're also showing up at work as a pioneer for AI, and you still work for the U.S. Navy as a leader. So balancing all this out is very hard. And I want to allude to some people that might know about this, but you're a lacrosse dad. So lacrosse is a heavy travel sport. Your job also has you traveling all over the world. How the heck do you do it, man? This is not an easy task to balance all this.
It's not, but one, I have a passion for all three things, right? My civilian job, which is in artificial intelligence, and it's at the forefront of kind of where we're going as a society. Very passionate about that too. Obviously, there's no greater passion I have than my family. I've been blessed. I'm blessed to have them. It's a gift. And so the time I spend for that is very important. I consider that premium time. And then obviously the Navy. I'm a captain of Navy Reserves. I'm a commanding officer. So I command a large organization, and so that requires a lot of time. And so we refer to it as a three-legged stool. Or the three balls in the air: family, career, military. And at one point, you always have a ball in the air and the other two in a hand. And so I'm constantly juggling. Hey, what is the most important? Some time, family, is always a priority. However, sometimes they do have to take a secondary, a backseat from a present standpoint, so I can deal with some of these other two. So I have the resources to do the things that my family wants to do that provide the quality of life that we have. But I'm blessed. I've had great mentors who have done the same thing at even larger scales, who've passed on that knowledge to me, and I like to think I pass that on to my peers and subordinates.
And you do this at a global scale. I mean, you're traveling all over the country for lacrosse with a 10-year-old. Is he 10, your youngest?
Uh, so my son's 10, he plays lacrosse. My 16-year-old daughter, I just flew her out to Massachusetts today for the women's
Incredible.
national tournament. She's already committed to a college for lacrosse. And then our oldest 21 is a senior at Texas Tech who graduates,
Yeah,
finishes
guns
nursing.
up, Red Raiders.
Yeah. So between those three, they keep me quite busy. And then my wife is from Japan. She's Japanese. And so we spend a lot of time back and forth there as well.
Yeah, you manage properties in both Texas and Japan. So that also is a time management commitment that most people can't even fathom the dream about. So you're proving that with energy and focus, you could accomplish a lot more than the average human might think is capable. So it's super impressive. But speaking of AI, you're a pioneer in industrial AI. You're leading the way, helping companies. That takes a lot of stakeholders. Balancing all this out, how do you help your customers keep time management and focus to actually achieve results driven by AI?
So that's the beautiful thing, and it's funny enough that we're talking about time management. The way we tend to position it is as a time management tool, right? There's value. I tell my children this, and I tell my clients this, right? The most valuable commodity we all have is time, because you can't make more of it, right? You can only do what you have those 24 hours in the day that we've been given. And so what you choose to do with that will impact the value you see in your day, whether that value is dollars, whether it's the quality of your training, or whether it's the quality of the time you get to spend with family, or things that you're passionate about. And so AI, because I'm fairly new to the AI, and I'm a late adopter, but I've adopted it wholeheartedly because I found that it's allowing me to spend more time doing some of these other things that I have going on in my life personally, as well as provide value to our clients on a professional level.
So you're using it to augment time, essentially.
That's that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, if people, if you don't adopt it, so full story, and I think I may have told you this, I had never used, and I've been in AI for a little bit. I never used ChatGPT or any of these other tools out there, these open source tools out there, until about 6 weeks ago. Never touched them. Now they are so, inculcated into my daily routine and my life in 6 weeks, that it's amazing. You would not believe that I only started using it 6 weeks ago, but it gives me that time back, and it makes me competitive with my peers who are using it, because they are able to do more with that 24 hours they're given because they are using AI.
Do you find it as an opportunity to be more present? Because there's a difference between spending time wisely and spending time in general and wasting time. So you're
Yes.
finding it to help you focus and be there when you need to be there and be an autopilot when you could be an autopilot. Back to the flying
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah, no, I love it, and you're actually right, and you mentioned the being present, right? Because there are many times, especially in the past, where I've been present with my family physically, but my mind's 1,000 miles away, whether it be on things in the military, things in the corporate world, or something else. But being able to, knowing I can accomplish more with the time I'm given, I am able to give more of myself, where I'm both present in physically and mentally with my family. And I think they see that, and I know it's more rewarding for us all.
Yeah, I think if anybody's met you, they know that you're present. Anytime they're in front of you, you give it a lot of attention. So as I mentioned, it's kind of a superstar how you could balance out all this. So
Thank
if
you.
somebody were getting new into a professional field with a new family, I know you mentioned the juggle before. How would you coach them, or what would be a phrase for them to think about when it comes to managing all of this at scale?
Yeah, so there are two things I would recommend, and one's a phrase and one's a practice, a habit pattern. This first one I learned from, I worked at the Pentagon for a little bit. I worked for a three-star on OpNav staff, and this guy was phenomenal, this vice admiral. But he called me in his office one day, and kind of knew about all the things I was doing and stuff, and sat me down. My call sign's Flamer. He sits down, he says, "Hey, Flamer, one thing piece of advice I want to give you: pay yourself first." And what he meant with that was with time. He goes, "Now this is a very important man, in the Navy and in the military and the DoD." And he goes, "The first thing I do when I come in my office every day at the Pentagon, big office there at the Pentagon at the window, anyone's been there knows you have a window, you're an important person." And he goes, "I close my door and I give myself an hour of me time every day. And he had it on his calendar. And so the first thing I do is I pay myself first. I budget an hour a day of me time, even if it's just lunch or whatever. It's a time for me to reflect. Mine's actually in the morning before I start my day, for me to reflect on what I've done, what's important, what I need to get done to prioritize. The second thing is the mantra is closest alligator to the canoe, right? We all have a million different things coming at us, different priorities, different mediums vying for our time and attention. Prioritize what is the closest alligator to the canoe. So I've started my day by thinking, what is the most important thing I want to accomplish today, or a series of things, and then what are the closest, priorities or closest fires that I need to put out, because I can't put them all out because I
Yeah.
can only be present in one place. You will find that time tends to slow down and your day tends to move much smoother if you're disciplined in applying that. It took me a little while, but now I'm very disciplined in applying it. And I've found that my day just it goes much smoother.
I mean, that's an awesome saying. So first of all, I think mindfulness is something that we're all we took advantage of for years, and we're hearing more and more about leaders like that admiral, that have been super successful, and we're finding this to be a secret that maybe has been right under our noses that we haven't taken advantage of. So thanks for that. But the alligator closest to the canoe, I'm gonna steal that. Sorry, but that's an incredible phrase because it also allows you to pivot in real time because something might not be honed for your attention or focus at the moment, and in a second can be the most important alligator closest to the canoe. So I really like that. I'm gonna steal that. And
Hey, look, I
I, I
stole it from
I
him and
appreciate that.
others,
Yeah.
so I gladly give that to you.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. And I mean, in your current role, you coach clients, you probably have coached and helped your kids. How do you also give time and energy and focus towards others outside of that mindfulness for yourself?
That's a great question. And one of the things, and yeah, this is not to be sycophantic, but you're part of this. I keep, first of all, my social circle is pretty small. I keep myself surrounded by a small group of highly talented individuals, of which you're one, of course.
I appreciate
And
that.
no, it's the truth. And I come from that iron sharpens iron. So by keeping my personal social circle small, it allows me to devote more time to those, but I also I'm able to absorb the lessons I learn. Every time I interact with you or some of the others in my social circle, I come back wiser, smarter, sharper with new perspectives. That's one thing. Now I have a larger casual circle that they may not get as much of me at the real me, but I do give time, I give advice, I ask for advice, and so it's just understanding the range of who's in my circle and where they fit. And I understand that every personal transaction I have, that's a two-way street. So hopefully, I'm hoping that there's value for them in interacting with me, and hope there's value for me in interacting with that individual. Not that you're trying to use people, but I think these days with social media, with the electronic platform, the platforms out there, people tend to spread themselves too thin. And that lessens, you end up spending time that is not as well used.
No, that makes sense. And I think in a professional standpoint too, preparation helps make time valuable because if you prepare and you do some of the work ahead of time, again, time, you show up and interactions are meaningful. So how do
Yeah.
you take the time to prepare for all these things?
So, and that's a great question. That comes right back to that AI, right? If it's a formal presentation or anything, but now I've even taken to how much I've adopted putting my thoughts in a Word or a PDF and then say, summarize, give me some, and it helps me. Just taking 10 minutes to do that, I find that I'm more prepared for a lot of the formal presentations or formal engagements. But those formal engagements, that those learning points carry over to the casual or the impromptu engagements. And so in the last few weeks since I've adopted AI, I'm not, this is not my promotion for AI. I just found that I've been able to adopt it to my life. It's allowed me to and provide more impact, more value in my both my personal and my professional as well as my social interactions. The other thing I'll say is back to the time of not spreading yourself too thinly with time. If you are constantly putting yourself out there, overexposure, then people will not value your time, and they will come to you with a little more frivolous things, a little bit more waste. I found because I tend to hold myself back. Not that I don't encounter this, but it's much less. When people do engage me, it tends to be meaningful. They tend to put some thought behind it, and that's value add to both of us.
Now I have to ask because you live in Houston. Time is wasted a lot in a car in Houston. Have you found ways to be productive in a car? Like, what are you doing to deal with that Houston traffic?
Absolutely. So for me, I like podcasts. I'm going to obviously listen to yours, but I'm a history buff. I'm a huge history buff. One of my favorite sayings is from Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain. History does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And so I use that time. Everything in Houston is about an hour plus away. So I use that time to learn about history, learn about kind of some eccentricities of history that a lot of people don't know about, and I find that there are common themes that run throughout, and I'm usually able to find something that I either apply here, but more importantly in my military life, which has more of a geopolitical slant, especially a lot of things. My area of responsibility is in the Asia Pacific. So there are a lot of things in history that I'm able to apply in my military life that carry relevance and value.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible to me that some people reinvent the wheel over and over again once from a geospatial way, from a bigger sense, from a smaller sense. And I like that expression from Mr. Twain. So another thing that I'm going to steal a quote a few times. This has been extremely valuable. I also want to help generate and foster the next community of leaders. So if I want to think about your daughter now, she's a senior. If I put myself in the shoes of when I was in university, I thought I had no time. And then I became a single guy working, thought I had no time. And then I got married and thought I had no time. Then now I have kids and I definitely have no time. So, uh, how do you think somebody should also adjust to the realities of their world, if that makes sense? Because I think we put this pressure on ourselves like time doesn't exist, but there's more you can do, especially with all the tools and AI-driven augmentation that exist out there today.
No, that's a great question. You were 100% correct, and I was in the same boat. Right, there's never enough time. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And funny enough, you bring up my daughter. She was just here. She just went back up to nursing school a couple of days ago. She was here for a month, and now she's back up there. And that's all I heard her say. Oh, I don't have enough time for this, enough time for that. I'm like, you are a college student with no other response. Your sole life and job in life is to learn, right? That's all, and absorb this knowledge. You have time, but to your point, if you pay yourself first, take an hour, 30 minutes, 50, whatever it is. If you pay yourself first with time, you will find you do have the time. You just created an hour, right? And you will find that if you've taken that hours to structure your day to reflect on where you were, where you are, and where you want to be, you will find that you will actually make time. And I have been able to, obviously, I'm not perfect at it. And maybe I spend a little bit more time with my family than they sometimes desire, but I'm able to make more time with my family. And I just hit 50 years old. So, that's kind of a benchmark in life where you realize what is really important. Spent my last, 3 decades or so working towards something when I realized that at 50, I'm like, the most important thing I have is right in front of me, my face every day, and that's my family. Sounds cliche, but it is so important with grounding me and giving me perspective in the other avenues of my life.
Yeah, as you've told me before, you can't get time back. So I think it is very important to take care of those that you love and that you're in front of every day, and also to respect those that you work with and respect those that you are in your community. So I think your advice has been great. If you have any parting advice, please do share now, but appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on Sips and Software.
Thank you, Colin. It is an honor or a privilege to be here. I really appreciate it. The only piece of advice I will have is enjoy what you have because tomorrow's not promised to us. So enjoy the time you have now.